Well, hello, all you high thinkers and folks that I hope are thinking in general. This is a special day because we're joined by both Pepper and Penny. So that makes it a very special video indeed. And today I was going to go over mind control and undue influence and have to reference back to the brainwashing video. And I guess on a personal note, I just have to say that reading about this and learning about this stuff and then watching all sorts of news casts and YouTube videos of all the things going on in the day, and it just literally makes me sick to my stomach. It just makes me nauseous sometimes um, covering this stuff. But I feel like it's really important, and uh, to try and hopefully somebody will see this and do a better job than me on explaining how some of these propaganda techniques work. And so, jumping into it a little bit there on my video on brainwashing, the thing about that is when the government or an institution has total control over you and you've got no place to go, then it's all over. Nobody's coming to rescue you, and I mean they've got you trapped already. So that's the biggest part of the battle right there, is sucking you in. So for mind control and undue influence, like in a cult, we're going to go over that. But of course, the first step is getting you into it. And this is personal observation, but I seems like it's backed up by anecdotal evidence, shall we say. So people that are looking for spiritual or moral answers are even more susceptible to propaganda techniques, especially people that will tell you anything you want to hear. So yeah, that's lying, but it's also disingenuous, and it's a different kind of lying. And anyway, but that's one thing that'll happen. But so the other thing is, or one of the things is, they will try and, as Scientology would say, find your ruin, or tell you that you are a sinner and that without their religion, you're going to burn in hell. And in Scientology, once again, finding your ruin, and you say, oh, well, I have asthma, or, I'm having problems with my partner or whatever. Well, they'll say, hey, well, Scientology can help you with that, and in fact, we're really the only ones that can. All these other people are trying, and they have good intentions, but only Scientology can do it. And the same thing for, let's just say, Christianity. Only Jesus can save you, right? I mean, you got to be saved again by Jesus for them, but you've got to listen to what the preacher says and follow all their advice. So that's where they're like sucking you in. When you haven't come in yet, they're saying, we've got the answers for you. Just come in and give us a try. Well, once you get in there, then they have even more control over you because it's kind of like a group thing. So you're outnumbered. And so that's going to have an impact on you. And then if you start talking about things that you've heard and like that, they'll say, oh, well, the fake news, they've got it all wrong. We're really not like that at all. You just come on in here and we'll show you that we're sincere and all this is just absolutely the way you want it. And so, and they make you fear the outside world because you already know that the world's a mess. And so they're going to play it up and say, we're out here trying to save the planet. That was another big one with Scientology, is they're saving the planet. And I may have said this in the other video, but the people that I knew in there, and I hope myself included, have the best intentions. I mean, we're hoping to make the world a better place, thinking better communication and understanding and all of these things could make the world a better place, and getting rid of your, in their case, aberrations, or whatever it would be in psychological terms. So, there, it's got like, it's holding out this hope. You got your carrot, and then you got the big stick over here that you're going to be damned to hell, or, the whole world's going to go up in a nuclear mushroom cloud if you don't do everything you can to help the movement, right? So, all right, so then that's where they kind of got you in. But then once you're in, then the mind control starts kicking in. And got this really great book here, Combating Cult Mind Control by Steven Hassan, PhD. Really worth reading. I think everybody ought to read it. I know there's a lot out there, but I think you'd find some very interesting things in there. So I'll read a little of my notes here on this. So like when I was a Scientologist, I was considered public. I was never a part of the organization. I was just taking courses and doing auditing and those kind of things. But now Steven, he was a Moonie and he was very high up in the organization. He worked with Moon himself. I will refrain from calling him Reverend because he's not. Anyway, that's beside the point. Uh, so because of that, he was like strict under their control. And what happened was he was at some event and he was in an auto accident. He was driving by himself. It was an auto accident. Had to go to the hospital. You can read the book to get all the details. But basically, he was going to have to convalesce for a while, and he convinced the people in the cult to let him stay with his sister until he got better, and it was going to save them money, and he could handle it, and it would be okay, even though they considered her a disciple of Satan, and he was putting himself at great risk. Anyways, he was able to go there, and sure enough, she was able to contact other family members and get a bunch of former Moonies to come over and talk to him, and he finally saw the light, and he came out. It took deprogramming, and again, you should read the book to get all the details on that, but he turned his life around and dedicated his life to helping people get out of cults, and that's what this book is all about. And so it just, again, very powerful. So here's a little quote from inside the book before we get started on all of the mind control techniques. This is George Orwell in the book 1984. In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. So yeah, it's like once they've got total control of you, if you say anything against it, if you spot a truth that they don't want you to know, then you're going to be punished for it or kicked out. So also in the book there, he describes a destructive cult as a group that violates its members' rights and damages them through the abusive techniques of unethical mind control. It distinguishes itself from a normal, healthy social or religious group by subjecting its members to systematic control of behavior, information, thoughts, and emotions to keep them dependent and obedient. So he uses an acronym BITE for that, so for behavior, information, thoughts, and emotions control. And then here's a little note that first, the three components described by psychologist Leon Festinger in what has become known as the cognitive dissonance theory are control of behavior, thoughts, and emotions. So Hassan added another, the control of information, and he calls it the BITE model. And so that's the biggies there on once you're in, and we'll go into a little more detail on this. All right, so I'm going to reference the book here a little for the BITE model, starting with controlling behavior. So I'm going to read this first paragraph here. Behavior control is the regulation of an individual's physical reality. It includes the control of their environment, where they live, what clothes they wear, what food they eat, how much sleep they get, and what jobs, rituals, and other actions they perform. So again, for me in Scientology, I was public, so I didn't have to do that, although they did hammer home that I needed to be on course all the time. Any spare minute, I was supposed to be on course. Now, if you signed a contract, then they all wore the uniform. Basically, they had to be on course if they weren't working for the org. I mean, that's the way it came across anyways. They put in ridiculous hours and didn't get a lot of sleep. I don't know about the food and all that kind of stuff, but anyways, they definitely control all your behavior, all the things that you do, and so yeah, basically they have all of those things covered there. All right, so let's go on to information control. So that's basically like it sounds. They control what you've heard of. People living in their bubble, well, that's basically what you're getting. Information control provides the tools with which we think and understand reality. Without accurate, up-to-date information, we can easily be manipulated and controlled. Deny a person the information they require to make sound judgments, and they will become incapable of doing so. Deception is the biggest tool of information control. Outright lying, withholding information, distorting information all become essential strategies, especially when recruiting new members. So, again, I alluded to that earlier when they're trying to get you in. So, say if you heard a bad story about Scientology and you brought it up to them, well, they're going to disavow it and give you all these reasons why these people would want to say negative things about Scientology, or they'll give you their news and their views and all this stuff. And then once you get inside, basically you don't have access to television. I think they control, whether you have a radio or not. I mean, there's, I'm sure with the Moonies, if you read this book, I mean, it's even more strict than that. I mean, you can't even talk to your relatives without permission. They control all of your funds because basically, with some of these, like the Moonies, you basically give them all of your money and property to become a member, things like that. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but the information is, they can't talk to anybody or figure a way out or what's going on in the outside world, things that might actually reflect badly on the cult or whatever organization is pulling these tricks on you. It can be an individual too, really, when you get down to it. All right, the next one is thought control. Thought control includes indoctrinating members so thoroughly that they internalize the group doctrine, incorporate a new language system, and use thought-stopping techniques to keep their minds centered. All right, so the thing, as far as the thought stopping, again, it's great to read the book, but there's chanting, praying, meditating. Anytime you hear something bad and you want to block it out, some start chanting and those kind of things, and they can block out any information that thoughts that might be popping into their head that are bad. And the other thing is, if you do think of anything bad, you're supposed to talk about it to your superiors, not to your other people at your level. You need to always take that higher up the chain so they can explain it to you and, keep you in the cult. So the last one here, emotional control. Emotion control attempts to manipulate and narrow the range of a person's feelings. Guilt and fear figure mightily. However, most cult members can't see that guilt and fear are being used to control them. They are both essential tools to keep people under control. Fear is used to bind the group members together in several ways. The first is the creation of an outside enemy who is persecuting the group and its members. Second is the terror of discovery and the punishment by cult members and leaders. Fear of what can happen to you if you don't do your job well and can be very potent. Some groups claim that the nuclear holocaust or other disasters will result if members are lax in their commitments. Okay, well, I can go along with that one because that was part of Ron's deal. And if you saw my other videos, maybe a few of you have, about Ron and the whole era that he came along in, the 20s and 30s and 40s and all the nuclear stuff. Well, that's a big thing with Scientology. In fact, he even has a book called All About Radiation. So the fear there of, bad things happening, it just, all of them. Christianity, I don't even know Muslims. Well, I'm pretty sure it's the same kind of thing. Anyway, so the emotional thing also is turning you against family members that might say something derogatory against the cult or group that you're a member of. So that's where the, cognitive dissonance. So say that your mom loves you and really cares about you, but they're telling you, oh no, she's evil because she's trying to get you out of this cult, and we're the only ones that can save the world. She just doesn't see it. And until she sees it, you can't be around her because she's having evil thoughts, or in Scientology, we call it a suppressive person. We won't get into all of that. So obviously there's a lot to this. I think this video is going kind of long. I had a lot of trouble sitting down to make this because, like I say, basically discussing all of this stuff kind of makes me nauseous. And so I think the next video, some of my ideas are to go over more of Edward Bernays and the tactics of propaganda. In fact, this great book, the Edward Bernays Reader, From Propaganda to the Engineering of Consent, and that's going to be a biggie. And I'm hoping at some point these videos all tie together, and it's going to expose what's happening. Then deciding what to do with that information uh, is out there for everybody to decide, basically. But I mean, that's basically it. So hopefully we'll get past some of these like really horrible topics and get to more fun stuff later on. Maybe some music videos, because I've been doing lots of music here lately, and that also has limited my time for reading books and putting my thoughts together on things like this. That hopefully will make some sort of sense. I mean, it is high thoughts. I mean, depending on how you're watching this or what you might get out of it. Anyway, on behalf of Penny and Pepper, I bid you adieu, and I hope you have a groovy day until we meet again. Ciao.